Okay, cool.
Okay, I apologize for the resolution.
No worries.
Are you able to view it? On my end, it looks a little blurry, but I'm not sure. Is it a little bit better on your end?
Let me just make it a little bigger. Yeah, I can see the snow globe in the middle of the canvas. It looks good.
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to be talking about the process of like animating the snow globe. So starting from like the very beginning.
Cool.
So this all started with this sketch I
Awesome.
just drew on a piece of paper and then snapped a photo of it and put it into this application called Procreate, which is an iPad application for drawing. And so I imported that file into my Procreate, and then I ended up like tracing over it in order to actually convert that into something that was using pixels.
Cool.
So in terms of like how I usually draw stuff, sometimes I'll start stuff in Procreate, sometimes I'll start stuff on paper. I had some free time, so I just grabbed a piece of paper and kind of sketched out my initial thoughts as to how this snow globe could look,
That's great.
and then put it into Procreate. And I can show you kind of like what that looked like
Oh,
in
that's
terms of
awesome.
tracing over. Yeah, it's really cool that Procreate has like this built-in time lapse feature, so you can see like what it actually looked like as you were working through a file. And so there was a lot of like different things I was playing around with. Some of them I decided not to implement in the end. There were some like color changes I was working on. And then near the end, I decided that I wanted to add this like
That's awesome.
piece of snow at the bottom. And so this was, yeah, pretty much the whole process of using using Procreate to digitize this photo. And if you look at like my Procreate layers, they're kind of like all over the place and not named well, which is not something you generally want to do if you are animating an SVG or an image. But since in Procreate it's creating pixel-based images, so we're not actually going to use like this particular file for the actual SVG animation, but going
Okay.
to work like transform it into an SVG. And
Got it.
so that's how I use Procreate. But then there's other software like Affinity Designer or Adobe Illustrator that is used for graphic art or for vector based art, where like if you zoom into something, it's always going to not be pixelated because it's using mathematical calculations to create those images. And so getting it into this vector format, you can either like manually kind of like trace over like what your illustration is,
Okay.
or there's also tools to kind of automatically do it. I know in Illustrator there's a tool to convert a vector or convert an image into this vector format, and it's definitely gotten improved in like recent time.
Cool.
And then I'm assuming Affinity has something similar. And then in terms of like how my layers are organized in Affinity Designer, I do have some more organization than what I had with within Procreate. So kind of grouping like these larger layers of the photo. So I have like this background layer which has the like top of the snow globe. Then I have these presents which if you like take them out, it actually cuts out from this. So I'm
Oh,
not planning on animating those presents, but definitely like if I did want to animate those,
cool.
would need to do something about that. And then I have a bunch of snow. And so you'll see with the snow, it doesn't do what the presents do when I undo it. So we'll
Okay.
be able to move around the snow. Um, and I just added like a bunch of snow, and you may notice, oh, it's kind of hard to see. This snow can like go, ah, what is it?
You can make everything disappear.
Yes. So the snow can kind of, oh gosh, I'm
Got
trying to
it.
figure out how to zoom back out. Um, Sorry about that. So
All
the
good.
snow here, there's like a clipping mask that I have.
Got it.
So it's probably hard to see here because this font, this is like really light. But if I remove that, the snow just like escapes outside of this globe. So this curved path is literally just to like contain all of the snow
Cool.
inside of the snow globe.
Chad is loving
And
the snow globe, by the way. It's
oh,
so good.
awesome. Thank you. And then there's like the bottom of the snow globe and the shimmer at the that I put at the top.
Cool.
And so if you haven't worked with SVG before, like the different or layers in general, it's just like the layer that's on the bottom is literally like at the bottom. If you think about like something like Z-index, where things are like stacking on top of each other. So this snow can never appear like above the bottom because it's the layer is below the bottom. But the snow can appear above the presence because it's the layer is literally above the presence. So I kind of had set it up that way based off of like how I was planning on animating it, etc. And so I guess let's look at the code for it. So one second.
Like the actual SVG output to
Yeah, so we can look at
cool.
the SVG. Is this so like from like Adobe Illustrator or Affinity Designer, you can export an SVG, which would look like similar to like what's on this left hand side here. Of like you can see like these different paths and IDs and different numbers and stuff to calculate the position of the element. And so I just exported the information from Affinity Designer. And then I made sure that I flattened the transforms so that I'll be able to actually be able to transform those individual like pieces of snow, because originally there were like some transforms within the markup, and then I was talking to Kathy Evans, and she recommended that I remove them so that I would be able to like actually, if I wanted to, target individual pieces of snow. So that was something that I needed to do, and then put it into this tool, SVG OMG, which you can just I think this might be a different version of it, but you just like you upload your SVG, and then it will optimize it a bit in terms of like if there's properties you don't need, you can have it like clean it up. And you can see down here it's saying like this file size is 60% smaller. So
that's awesome.
so this is a good tool to use if you're working with SVGs, just for like make it more performant on this if there are unnecessary things. Depending on like what things you check mark, the SVG may appear different. But if you make sure that like all of the things that you actually need are retained, then it should look the same once the file is optimized. And so then I like pasted that into CodePen and was able to animate the SVG. And so in terms of like what that looks like, so first I just added a background to like the whole page here. So is that gonna work? Yeah, I just added a background to like the whole page. And then when we were looking at like Affinity Designer, I talked about the layers that I have. So like there's like this shimmer group and bottom snow container, which has like snow, extra top snow, extra bottom snow. And so those names would be helpful when we actually get to animating, because if you look at the markup, we actually have IDs that map to those groups. Sorry, this red is quite harsh. And so there's like a shimmer ID in here for the shimmer. So we have this path, the ID is shimmer. And so there I added an animation, which is called shine.
Could you just real quick,
like,
I'm so sorry to interrupt. Could you hit Control or Command plus just to make it a bit bigger? If you could.
Yes.
Yeah, a couple times. Thank you so much. It just makes it a little bit easier for chat to read. Thank you. Sorry to cut you off.
Okay. No, that's fine.
You're talking about Shimmer.
And so yeah, so I have the Shimmer, which has this animation property and saying like use the shine animation for
Cool.
run this animation for 3 seconds, and then it has a count of 4 times, so it does this 4 times. We could update this to infinite, so it'll just kind of keep running forever in the background.
Got it.
It makes it maybe easier to see like what's happening. And so how this works is it's changing the fill of that path from white to this other color that's kind of more of like a blue. It's a little bit hard to see that, but
it's like a subtle fade, and then it like gets brighter, and so it kind of simulates like a shine of
yes,
light coming across. Cool.
yes, and then oh wait. Oh, okay. So I have like these extra CSS classes because that have like similar things just to make sure that it's working on different browsers. So Safari, Firefox, and
Oh,
Chrome. So these properties were actually not targeting the Chrome version. So that's why at first I wasn't seeing the changes.
cool.
But yeah, so this is just like filling it from white to aqua. And then I had added this animation direction of alternate. So the first time the animation plays, it'll go from white to aqua, and then the second time it'll go from aqua to white, and then like it looks a little bit, I think, smoother than going like back and forth, back and forth. Like I guess it like lets each part run a little bit longer. Although maybe I could just play with like the timing. But that was something that I had played around with. And then like for the actual like presence in here, I just put this in for fun. But like since this is something that we could target, like I said, we couldn't necessarily grow it because
Oh,
there's like a hole in the background.
yeah.
But we could add like a CSS filter
It's so
like
funny.
to
I
it.
thought that was like the video feed. I'm like, that's weird. It goes gray whenever she mouses over. I had no idea that you put that in there. That's so cool.
Yes. So yeah, I was just playing around with it because I'm like, I don't know what I
Yeah.
want to what I want to do with these presents, but I think I maybe it would be cool to have them like shake or something, but I don't know yet like what
Yeah.
that would look like, and I would definitely have to like edit the SVG so that there's no holes behind
Got it.
it.
The snowfall feels so good though. If we turn that back or something, I don't know. The way it
Yeah.
was
So I
falling,
have
like you've got several layers. It seems like you have like a front snow, a back snow, right? That's how. Yeah,
yes.
Chad, look at that.
Um. So let me put up. I'm
It's
just
really
gonna have
good.
it so that it kind of runs continuously so that we can see what's happening. So yes, so I decided to add like different layers. So at first I didn't have a lot of snow in the snow globe. So like it just kind of would like fall, and there would be like gaps of no snow, and then the snow would reappear, and it was very like drastic, I think, in terms of transitions. But now I added extra snow, so there's like this whole layer of snow that kind of goes beyond the snow globe at the top and beyond the snow globe at the bottom. And yeah, and those are like groups that we could find in here with just like a million different snowballs inside of them.
Got it.
And then I decided to target the paths inside of these are like groups. So snow is really like maybe like 12 different snowballs, and extra
Cool.
top snow is 12 more. And so I set it so that we'll have like this snowfall animation that plays uh, for 4 seconds for all of the even children in like one group, all of the odd children in another group, all the even in another one. And so I kind of did that in inverse. So like there's two different sets of animation. So one is running like a 3 second interval, and the other one is running at a 4 second interval, so that it's kind of like there's always something happening and they're not happening like at the same time. So like it's not as
Yeah.
drastic when the animation like kind of resets itself.
Yeah. That's so good. We have like 10 seconds left. Is there anything that you wanted to touch on? I know it's such a short time frame. I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah, so this was like what the actual transformation looked like. So I'm doing some changes to like the position of the elements to get them to move down, as well as changing the opacity. So it kind of just looks like it's like move, like changing a little bit more like as it animates. And the scale is increasing slightly of how large these items are. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Monica, it's so great. It's such a fun. I just love that you showed us from sketch, from actually like pencil and paper, all the way to
Mm-hmm.
getting it into CodePen and making this. Would you mind dropping a link when you get back to chat? You don't have to do it right this second. We could say goodbye first.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so
Yeah,
much for
no,
showing us this.
definitely.
And thank you for
Yeah, of
coming on.
course.
This was a
Thank
blast.
you.
I hope you have a great holiday. Thank you so much for coming on. Chat, let's get a big round of
Thank
applause
you.
for Monica. Awesome. Kenzie does in there already applauding. Thank you so much, Monica. Take care.